Human lost his alien battle partner, then discovered he had a beautiful sister. The flag of the United Earth Federation rippled in the artificial breeze of the station's environmental systems. Commander Michael "Mike" Reeves stood at rigid attention, his broad shoulders squared beneath his dress uniform, his jaw clenched as he fought to maintain his composure. The memorial hall of Orbital Station Helios was packed with both humans and Narians, all gathered to honor one fallen soldier. Lieutenant Duran Kalesh had died saving the UEF flagship Intrepid from a catastrophic reactor breach. The official report called it an accident, a cascade failure in the coolant systems. But Mike knew better. He'd seen the sabotage markers in the ship's logs before they were mysteriously purged from the system. "Attention!" barked Admiral Harrison, and the assembled military personnel snapped to perfect formation. Mike stepped forward, his movements mechanical, divorced from the storm of emotions raging inside him. He and Darren had fought side by side for 3 years, from the Centauri incursion to the Battle of Proxima Centauri. They'd saved each other's lives more times than he could count. More than battle partners, they were brothers in arms. As Mike approached the ceremonial platform, his eyes locked with those of a Narian female standing opposite him. Her skin was a smooth, rich blue that seemed to shimmer under the station lights. Her hair, if you could call it that, consisted of luminescent braids that cascaded down her shoulders like rivers of pale blue light. She wore a formal, deep green outfit that accentuated her slender, yet strong physique. This had to be Selina Kalesh, Duran's sister. Mike had heard about her, but never met her. Duran had spoken of her often, the brilliant xenobiologist who'd chosen science over military service, much to their father's disappointment. Together, they approached the casket draped with both the UEF and Narian flags. With practiced precision, Mike began folding the Earth flag while Selina mirrored his actions with the Narian banner. Their hands moved in perfect synchronization, creating neat triangles of fabric. When they finished, Mike presented the folded Earth flag to Admiral Harrison, who nodded solemnly. Selina handed the Narian flag to an elder of her species, who received it with a deep bow. "Lieutenant Darren Kalesh gave his life in service to both our peoples." Admiral Harrison's voice boomed through the hall. His sacrifice saved 473 lives aboard the Intrepid. He embodied the spirit of the Human-Narian alliance and will be remembered as a hero by both our species. Mike's eyes never left the casket as it was slowly transported toward the airlock. Narian tradition dictated that their fallen be returned to the stars, their bodies released into space to join the cosmic dust from which all life had sprung. As the ceremony concluded, Mike found himself standing alone, staring out the viewport as Duran's casket drifted into the void, illuminated by the distant sun before disappearing into darkness. "Commander Reeves!" The voice startled him. He turned to find Selina standing behind him, her large, expressive eyes, a deeper blue than her skin, studying him intently. "Ms. Kalesh," he acknowledged with a respectful nod. "I'm sorry for your loss. Your brother was the finest soldier I've ever served with." "Thank you," she replied, her voice melodic despite the translation device she wore. "Duran spoke highly of you in his communications home. He considered you a true friend." Mike swallowed hard. The feeling was mutual. An awkward silence fell between them. There was so much Mike wanted to say, but this wasn't the time or place, not with so many ears listening. "I should go," Selina finally said. "The Narian delegation departs tomorrow." "Wait," Mike said, lowering his voice. "Your brother didn't die for nothing, and I think you need to know why." Selina's eyes widened slightly, but her expression remained composed. "What are you suggesting, Commander?" "Not here," Mike glanced around. "Meet me at Observation Deck C, 3rd shift. Come alone." She hesitated, then gave an almost imperceptible nod before turning to join the other Narians. Mike watched her go, his mind racing. He was about to violate at least 6 different regulations by sharing classified information with a civilian, even if she was the sister of his fallen comrade. But Duran deserved justice, and Mike was damn well going to make sure he got it. As he left the memorial hall, he caught Admiral Harrison watching him with narrowed eyes. The man gave him a curt nod, which Mike returned before heading to his quarters. He had preparations to make before meeting Selina. Hours later, Mike stood alone on Observation Deck C watching the stars. The deck was deserted during 3rd shift, exactly why he'd chosen it. He heard the soft hiss of the door opening behind him. "Commander," Selina's voice was cautious. "Call me Mike," he said, turning to face her. She changed from her formal attire into more practical clothing, though the deep green color remained. "Thank you for coming." "You said I need to know why my brother died," she replied, moving closer. "I've had my own doubts about the official story." Mike took a deep breath. "It wasn't an accident. The reactor breach was sabotage, and I have proof. Someone wanted that ship crippled, and they didn't care who died in the process. Your brother discovered something, Selena. Something dangerous enough to get him killed." Her eyes flashed with a mixture of grief and anger. "Who would do this? And why?" "That's what I intend to find out," Mike said grimly. "But I can't do it through official channels. Someone high up is involved in the cover-up." Selena studied him for a long moment. "What are you asking of me, Commander?" "Your help," Mike replied simply. "Duran trusted you. He told me you have connections in places I can't reach. Together, we might be able to uncover the truth. And if we do, what then?" "Then we make sure Darren didn't die in vain," Mike said, his voice hardening. "We bring those responsible to justice, no matter who they are." Selena's gaze never wavered from his. "Very well, Commander. Where do we start?" With this, Mike pulled out a small data chip. "Everything I've managed to salvage from the purge logs. It's not much, but it's a beginning." As Selena took the chip, their fingers brushed briefly. A small spark of connection flashed between them, born of shared grief and common purpose. Neither of them knew it yet, but this moment marked the beginning of a journey that would take them far beyond their search for justice, into a conspiracy larger than either could imagine. Mike's personal communicator buzzed at 0400 hours, jolting him from a restless sleep. Admiral Harrison's stern face appeared on the screen. "Commander Reeves, report to my office immediately. Security breach level 1. The connection cut before Mike could respond. He knew exactly what this meant. They discovered his data extraction. Swearing under his breath, he quickly dressed in civilian clothes rather than his uniform. The formal channels were no longer an option. As he grabbed his emergency go bag from beneath his bunk, his secure line pinged with an encrypted message from an unknown sender. "They know," Narian delegation recalled. "Being watched. Meet at maintenance shaft 7B-S. Mike's heart raced. Not only was he compromised, but they targeted Selena too. He needed to move fast. Avoiding the main corridors, Mike navigated through service passages toward the rendezvous point. The station's night cycle meant minimal personnel, but security would be actively searching for him. He reached maintenance shaft 7B and found Selena already waiting, her blue skin almost luminescent in the dim emergency lighting. She wore practical clothing and carried a small pack. "They're saying you stole classified military intelligence," she whispered as he approached. "And I've been ordered to return to Naria immediately for security reasons." "They move faster than I expected," Mike replied, checking the corridor behind them. "We've triggered something big." "I accessed my brother's personal files before they locked me out," Selena said, producing a small data crystal. "I don't know what's on it yet, but he encrypted it with our childhood cipher." A distant sound of boots on metal flooring made them both freeze. "We need to get off this station," Mike said. "There's a supply shuttle departing for Europa Colony in 30 minutes. It's our best shot." "They'll be watching all official departures," Selena countered. Mike gave her a roguish grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Who said anything about official?" They moved through the maintenance tunnels with practiced efficiency, Mike from his military training, Selena with a natural grace that surprised him. Despite the dire circumstances, he couldn't help noticing how she moved, fluid and precise. "Your brother mentioned you were a scientist, not a commando," Mike whispered as they paused at a junction. Selena's lips curved slightly. "Narian females are traditionally trained in self-defense from childhood. Besides, growing up with Duran meant learning to keep up or get left behind." Something in her tone made Mike look at her more closely. In the dim light, her eyes seemed to shimmer with an inner fire that stirred something primal in him. He quickly pushed the feeling aside. This wasn't the time. They reached the cargo bay undetected. The supply shuttle sat on the loading platform, its crew finishing the last preparations for departure. "We need a distraction," Mike murmured, scanning the area. "Allow me," Selena replied. Before he could stop her, she slipped away, moving toward the environmental control panel. Moments later, warning lights flashed as the atmospheric pressure in an adjacent bay began to fluctuate wildly. As predicted, Most of the loading crew rushed to investigate. Leaving only 2 guards near the shuttle, Mike approached them confidently. "Emergency inspection, Admiral's orders." The guards hesitated, and Mike could see the moment they recognized his face from the alert. He didn't give them time to react. 2 quick strikes left both men unconscious but unharmed. "Impressive," Selena said, rejoining him. "Basic human combat training," Mike replied with a shrug, though he felt an unexpected surge of pride at her approval. They boarded the shuttle and concealed themselves among the cargo containers. As the bay doors opened and the shuttle launched, Mike allowed himself a moment of relief. "We made it," he whispered, suddenly aware of how close they were in the confined space. The scent of her was unlike anything he'd encountered before, something like ocean air and exotic spices. "For now," Selena replied, her voice equally soft. "But where do we go from here?" "I have contacts on Europa, people who owe me favors." Selena studied him in the dim light. "You're risking everything for my brother. Why?" Mike met her gaze. "Because he would have done the same for me. Because something stinks about this whole situation. And because..." He hesitated. "Because it's the right thing to do." A small smile touched her lips. "Very human of you." "Is that a compliment or an observation?" Mike asked, suddenly conscious of how their shoulders touched in the narrow space. "Perhaps both," she replied. Her eyes held his for a moment longer than necessary, and Mike felt an unexpected heat rise within him. The shuttle jolted as it cleared the station's gravitational field, throwing Selena against his chest. His arms instinctively wrapped around her to steady her, and for a breathless moment, they remained pressed together. "Sorry," she murmured, making no immediate move to pull away. "Don't be," Mike replied, his voice rougher than he intended. The air between them seemed to charge with electricity. Mike became acutely aware of every point where their bodies connected, her slender form against his more solid frame, the strange but not unpleasant warmth of her skin through the fabric of their clothes. Selena slowly pulled back, but her hand lingered on his arm. "We should focus on decrypting my brother's data," she said, though her eyes suggested her thoughts weren't entirely on the mission. "Right," Mike agreed, reluctantly creating space between them. "We have 12 hours until we reach Europa. Let's see what Duran found that was worth dying for." As they settled in for the journey, Mike couldn't help but wonder at the unexpected turn his life had taken. 24 hours ago, he'd been mourning his friend. Now he was a fugitive, on the run with his friend's sister. A woman who was stirring feelings in him that were as unexpected as they were inappropriate given the circumstances. Yet as Selena worked on decrypting her brother's files, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the datapad, Mike found himself unable to look away. Whatever lay ahead, he knew with absolute certainty that nothing would ever be the same again. Europa Colony hung like a gleaming pearl against the vast darkness of space, its surface dotted with the illuminated domes of human settlements. The supply shuttle docked at Galileo Station, the colony's main port of entry. "Stay close," Mike whispered as they slipped out among the cargo containers being offloaded. "Security here is lighter than on military stations, but they'll still have our descriptions." They navigated through the bustling commercial district where humans mingled with various alien species in a cacophony of languages and scents. Mike led them to a small, nondescript hotel in the outer ring of the station, far from the administrative centers where security would be tightest. "My contact will meet us here," Mike explained as they entered a modest room with a single bed and basic amenities. "He's a data specialist who worked with me during the Centauri campaign." Selena nodded, setting her pack down and immediately connecting Darren's data crystal to her portable decoder. "I've made progress with the encryption. It's based on a story our father used to tell us, about the twin moons of our homeworld." Mike watched her work, admiring the deft movements of her slender blue fingers across the holographic interface. Her luminescent braids had been tucked beneath a hood during their escape, but now they cascaded freely down her back, pulsing gently with what he'd learned was an emotional indicator among Narians. "Your hair," he said, gesturing to the glowing strands. "It's reacting." Selena glanced up, a slight purple flush coloring her cheeks. "Yes, it's a biological response. Narians can't hide their emotions as well as humans can." "What's it saying now?" Mike asked, genuinely curious. She hesitated. "It's complicated. Concentration, determination, and other things." Before Mike could inquire further, the decoder chimed. "I'm in," Selena announced, her voice tight with anticipation. The room's display wall activated, filling with files, images, and video recordings. At the center was a document labeled Purity Protocol. "What the hell?" Mike muttered as they began scanning through the information. The files revealed the existence of a radical faction within Narian society called the Genetic Purists. Led by High Commander Trelvor, they believed that the alliance with humans was diluting Narian cultural and genetic purity. Their ultimate goal: sabotage the alliance and trigger a war that would end with humanity's subjugation. "This can't be right," Selena whispered, her braids now pulsing a deep red. "Trelvor is my father's closest advisor. He attended our family gatherings. He watched Duran and me grow up." Mike placed a hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes the people closest to us hide the darkest secrets." She looked up at him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Darren discovered they were planning to sabotage key alliance ships, making them look like accidents. The Intrepid was just the beginning. "And they killed him for it," Mike finished grimly. A knock at the door made them both freeze. Mike drew his sidearm and motioned for Selena to stand back. "Who is it?" "Package delivery for Smith," came the reply, the code phrase his contact was supposed to use. Mike cautiously opened the door to reveal a short, wiry man with cybernetic implants visible at his temples. "Riker," Mike greeted him with obvious relief. "Commander," Riker nodded, slipping inside. His eyes widened slightly at the sight of Selena. "You didn't mention your companion was Narian." "She's with me," Mike said firmly. "She's Duran's sister." Riker's expression softened. "Duran was a good man, one of the few aliens I trust with my life." He turned to the display wall, whistling low. "Looks like you found something big." "We need to get this information to Alliance Command," Mike said, "but we can't use official channels. The Purists have infiltrated both our governments." "I can help with that," Riker replied, examining the data, "but you'll need to lie low for at least 24 hours while I set up a secure transmission path." After Riker left with copies of the data, Mike secured the room and turned to find Selena standing by the window, staring out at the curve of Europa below them. Her shoulders were tense, her braids now a dull, pulsing blue. "Hey," he said softly, moving to stand beside her. "You okay?" "My own people," she whispered. "They killed my brother, and now they're planning to start a war that could kill millions more." She turned to face him, her expression fierce. "We have to stop them, Mike." "We will," he promised. Something shifted in the air between them. Perhaps it was the shared determination, or the vulnerability in her eyes, or simply the culmination of the tension that had been building since they'd met. Whatever it was, Mike found himself leaning closer, drawn by an irresistible force. Selena's braids began to pulse with a warm, golden light as she tilted her face up to his. "In Narian culture," she murmured, "grief and danger are powerful catalysts for other emotions." "In human culture too," Mike replied, his voice husky. Their lips met hesitantly at first, then with growing urgency. Her mouth was warmer than he expected, with a sweet, exotic taste that sent heat coursing through his veins. Her hands found their way to his shoulders, then his chest, exploring the unfamiliar contours of human musculature. Mike pulled back slightly, searching her eyes. "Is this allowed? Between our species?" A small smile curved her lips. "It's rare, but not forbidden, though some, like the Purists, would certainly disapprove." Her braids were now pulsing with an intense golden light. "Does that bother you?" In answer, Mike pulled her close again. "Not one damn bit." What followed was a discovery of differences and surprising similarities between their species. Where human passion might be restrained, Narian desire was expressed openly through the luminescence of their skin and hair. Mike found himself entranced by the way Selena's body literally glowed with pleasure at his touch. They came together in a union that transcended species, finding in each other a momentary escape from the danger that surrounded them, and perhaps something more lasting beneath the urgency of physical need. Later, as they lay entwined on the narrow bed, Selena traced patterns on Mike's chest. "Your heart beats differently than a Narian's," she observed. "Stronger, more determined." "Is that a scientific observation?" Mike asked with a lazy smile. "Perhaps," she replied, her braids now pulsing with a gentle, contented light. Or perhaps it's just you, Mike Reeves. There's something about humans, about you, that fascinates me. Before Mike could respond, the room's security system chimed with an alert. The peaceful moment shattered as they both leapt to their feet, instantly alert. "Proximity warning," Mike muttered, checking the display. His blood ran cold. "Security forces, at least 6 of them, heading this way." Selena's braids flashed to alarmed crimson. How did they find us so quickly? Mike's mind raced through the possibilities, landing on the most obvious and painful conclusion. Riker, he must have sold us out. Their brief respite was over. The hunt was on again. "We can't outrun them," Mike said, peering through the room's security feed at the approaching security team. "And we can't trust anyone else with this information?" Selena's braids pulsed with rapid flashes of red and gold as she quickly gathered their belongings. "Then what do we do?" Mike's eyes narrowed as a plan formed in his mind. "We take matters into our own hands. The Narian embassy is on the north side of the colony. If we can get inside their secure communications center, we can transmit everything directly to both governments simultaneously. Bypass all the compromised channels." "The embassy has the highest security on Europa," Selena pointed out. "How do we get in?" A slow smile spread across Mike's face. "They're looking for fugitives, a human male and a Narian female. But what if we walk right through the front door as honored guests instead?" 30 minutes later, they slipped out through the hotel's service exit just as security forces breached their room. Mike had borrowed formal attire from the hotel's Lost and Found, transforming himself into a respectable-looking diplomatic attaché. Selena, meanwhile, had altered her appearance by rearranging her luminescent braids into an elaborate formal style worn by Narian nobility. "How do I look?" she asked, adjusting the elegant green dress she'd packed for her original diplomatic mission. Mike's breath caught in his throat. The formal style accentuated the graceful curve of her neck and the delicate structure of her face. "Like Narian royalty," he replied honestly. Her braids pulsed with a pleased golden hue. "And you clean up rather well for a human soldier," she teased, straightening his collar. The brief touch sent electricity through him, reminding him of their earlier intimacy. Despite the danger, or perhaps because of it, his desire for her had only intensified. From the answering glow in her braids, the feeling was mutual. "Focus, Commander," she murmured with a knowing smile. "Mission first." "Right," Mike cleared his throat. "According to the embassy's public schedule, there's a cultural reception tonight celebrating the 5th anniversary of the Human-Narian Scientific Exchange Program." "Perfect," Selena nodded. "As a xenobiologist who's participated in the program, I would naturally be invited. And you're my human escort." They made their way through Europa's bustling central plaza, maintaining a confident pace while avoiding security cameras. The Narian embassy rose before them, its architecture an elegant blend of human and Narian design elements, a physical manifestation of the alliance now threatened by the purists. At the entrance, Selena straightened her posture and adopted the slightly haughty bearing of Narian aristocracy. Mike followed half a step behind, the picture of a respectful human diplomat. "Dr. Selena Kalesh and guest," she announced to the guard, her voice carrying the distinctive musical lilt of upper-class Narians. "We're here for the reception." The guard consulted his list. "I don't see your name, Doctor." "That's absurd," Selena replied with just the right note of indignation. "I was personally invited by Science Attaché Venmar. I've been a key contributor to the exchange program for 3 cycles." Mike held his breath as the guard hesitated, then made a call on his communicator. After a brief exchange in the Narian language, he nodded respectfully. "My apologies, Doctor. There seems to have been an administrative error. Please proceed." Once inside, Mike released a tense breath. "That was impressive." "Narian social hierarchy has its uses," Selena replied with a small smile. "Now we need to find the communication center." They mingled with the guests, accepting drinks and making small talk while gradually working their way deeper into the embassy. Mike noticed how Selena skillfully deflected questions about her recent activities while he maintained the persona of an admiring human colleague. "The way you handle these social situations," Mike murmured as they slipped away from a conversation with a Narian diplomat, "reminds me of special operations training." "In Narian high society, politics is a form of combat," she replied. "My mother made sure I was well armed." As they reached a less populated corridor, Selena's expression grew serious. The secure communications center should be on the third level. We'll need an access card. Mike spotted a Narian security officer approaching a restricted doorway. Wait here, he whispered. He intercepted the officer with a slightly intoxicated stumble. Excuse me, sir. Could you direct me to the, facilities? Human biology, you know, not very patient. As the officer reluctantly provided directions, Mike executed a perfect pickpocket maneuver, lifting the access card from the officer's uniform. Humans, the officer muttered as Mike thanked him profusely and staggered away. Primitive but effective techniques, Selena commented with amusement when he returned with the card. Sometimes the old ways work best, Mike replied with a wink. They used the stolen card to access a service lift to the third level. The corridor was deserted. Most security personnel were either at the reception or searching for them elsewhere in the colony. There, Selena pointed to a heavily secured door at the end of the hallway. That's the communications center. Mike swiped the card, but the reader flashed red. Damn, higher clearance needed. Allow me, Selena said, removing a small device from her clutch. Narian biometric systems have a design flaw. My brother taught me this trick. She attached the device to the scanner, which pulsed several times before turning green. The door slid open to reveal a state-of-the-art communications center, currently unmanned. We have minutes at most before someone notices the unauthorized entry, Mike said, inserting Duran's data crystal into the main console. Selena's fingers flew across the Narian interface. I'm setting up a simultaneous transmission to Alliance High Command and the Narian Council of Elders. No intermediaries, no filters. As she worked, Mike kept watch at the door. Hurry, he urged, hearing voices in the corridor. Almost there, Selena replied, her braids pulsing with intense concentration. I'm adding authentication codes, Duran's and mine. They'll know it's legitimate. The console chimed as the transmission began. Transmission initiated, Selena announced. 30 seconds to completion. Mike's hand found hers across the console. Their eyes met in a moment of shared triumph. They had done it. Whatever happened next, the truth would be known. The door burst open. 4 Narian security officers rushed in, weapons drawn. Behind them stood a tall, distinguished Narian male with elaborate silver braids and cold, calculating eyes. High Commander Trelvor, Selena gasped. My dear Selena, Trelvor replied with false warmth. How disappointing to find you consorting with humans against your own kind. His eyes flicked to the console. Stop that transmission immediately. Too late, Mike said with grim satisfaction as the console chimed again. It's done. Trelvor's face contorted with rage. Seize them both. The human dies now. The traitor comes with me. As the guards advanced, Mike positioned himself protectively in front of Selena. Their eyes met briefly. No words needed. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The fight was about to begin. Time slowed as Mike assessed their situation with the cold precision of a veteran soldier. 4 armed guards, 1 high-ranking conspirator, and only 1 exit. The odds were brutal. Selena, Mike whispered, his decision made in an instant. When I move, run for the door. Find Admiral Keegan at the Alliance headquarters. He served with your brother. He'll help you. Before she could protest, Mike lunged forward, slamming his palm against the emergency fire suppression system. Instantly, the room filled with dense, obscuring foam designed to smother electrical fires without damaging sensitive equipment. Secure the human! Trelvor shouted as chaos erupted. Mike used the confusion to his advantage, delivering a swift strike to the nearest guard's throat, a vulnerable point for Narians. The guard dropped, gasping. Mike seized his weapon and fired a disabling shot at the ceiling lights, plunging the room into darkness broken only by the pulsing emergency indicators. Go! He shouted to Selena, providing covering fire as she darted toward the exit. She hesitated at the doorway, her braids flashing between crimson alarm and golden determination. I won't leave you. You have to, Mike insisted, ducking a retaliatory shot. Someone needs to make sure the evidence reaches the right people. For Duran. At the mention of her brother, Selena's expression hardened. She gave Mike one last burning look, a promise rather than a goodbye, before disappearing into the corridor. Mike allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before turning to face the remaining guards. He had no illusions about his chances of escape. but every second he bought Selena increased her odds of getting away. "Impressive, Commander Reeves," Trelver said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Duran chose his battle partner well. A pity you chose the wrong side in this conflict." "The side that doesn't murder innocent people?" Mike retorted, firing another shot that forced a guard to take cover. "Yeah, I'm comfortable with my choice." The fight was brutal but brief. Mike managed to disable another guard before a stun blast caught him in the shoulder, sending him crashing to the floor. As darkness closed in, his last thought was of Selena, her luminescent braids, her determined eyes, the feel of her skin against his. At least she had a chance now. Selena raced through the embassy's corridors, her formal dress hindering her movement. She tore away the restricting lower portion, revealing the practical leggings she'd worn underneath. A Narian female in traditional dress would never show her legs in public, but Selena had long since abandoned such conventions. She encountered two guards at a junction and didn't hesitate. Using the combat moves Duran had taught her, enhanced by techniques she'd observed from Mike, she dispatched them efficiently. The second guard managed to graze her arm with his weapon, sending a burning pain through her shoulder. "For a scientist, you fight well," he gasped as she pinned him against the wall. "I had good teachers," she replied before rendering him unconscious, with pressure to a nerve cluster. Alarms blared throughout the embassy as she reached the diplomatic reception. Guests scattered in confusion as security personnel rushed toward the commotion. Selena used the chaos to blend in, slipping out a side entrance into Europa Colony's bustling central plaza. Her mind raced as she navigated through the crowds. Mike had sacrificed himself for her, a human putting himself at risk for a Narian. The purists claimed humans were selfish creatures who would ultimately betray their allies. Yet Mike had just proven the opposite in the most profound way possible. And he had done it for her. The realization sent a wave of emotion through her, so powerful that her braids pulsed with an intensity that threatened to give away her position. She forced herself to calm down, concentrating on the mission. Alliance headquarters was on the opposite side of the colony. She needed to reach Admiral Keegan before Trelvor's people intercepted her, or, worse, silenced Mike permanently. The thought of Mike being harmed or killed made her chest constrict painfully. When had this human become so important to her? Was it his unwavering loyalty to her brother? His determination to seek justice regardless of personal cost? Or perhaps it was the way he looked at her in their most intimate moments, not as an alien curiosity, but as a woman worthy of desire and respect. Selena ducked into a service alley as a patrol of Narian security forces passed by. They were expanding their search, which meant Mike had bought her valuable time. She wouldn't waste it. Using maintenance tunnels and service corridors, routes she'd memorized from the colony schematics during their planning, Selena made her way toward Alliance territory. Her wound throbbed, leaving a trail of indigo blood that she hastily wiped away. Narian blood contained bioluminescent properties that would make her easy to track in low light. As she neared the border between Narian and Alliance jurisdictions, Selena spotted a heavy security presence at all official crossing points. They were checking everyone. She'd never make it through. Then she noticed a maintenance worker entering a code on a nondescript panel that opened to reveal a service tunnel. Of course, the utilities infrastructure connected all sectors of the colony. She waited until the worker disappeared, then approached the panel. The code was a standard Europa Colony maintenance sequence. She'd seen similar systems in research facilities. 3 attempts later, the panel slid open, and she slipped inside just as another patrol rounded the corner. The tunnel was narrow and dimly lit, designed for utility drones rather than humanoids. Selena crawled through, ignoring the pain in her injured arm. Her thoughts returned to Mike. What was happening to him now? Was he being interrogated? Tortured? The purists were known for their brutal methods when dealing with species traitors. She emerged in the Alliance sector, quickly orienting herself. Alliance headquarters loomed ahead, its architecture distinctly human. Practical, sturdy, with none of the aesthetic flourishes Narians preferred. As she approached the security checkpoint, Selena straightened her posture and calmed her breathing. Her formal appearance was disheveled, her arm was injured, and her braids pulsed with emotional distress. But she was still a Narian scientist with legitimate credentials. "I need to see Admiral Keegan immediately," she told the human guard. "It's a matter of Alliance security." The guard eyed her suspiciously. ID and purpose. Dr. Selina Kalesh, xenobiologist, she replied, presenting her credentials. I have information regarding the sabotage of the UEF Intrepid and the death of Lieutenant Duran Kalesh. Commander Michael Reeves sent me. At the mention of Mike's name, the guard's demeanor changed subtly. Wait here, Doctor. Minutes later, Selina found herself escorted not to Admiral Keegan, but to a secure conference room where 3 human officers waited. The highest ranking among them, a stern-faced woman with silver-streaked hair, stepped forward. I'm Admiral Gardner, Alliance Intelligence. We received a most interesting transmission from the Narian Embassy 20 minutes ago. Her sharp eyes assessed Selina. You're bleeding, Doctor. Let's get that treated while you tell us exactly what's happening and where Commander Reeves is. Selina's braids pulsed with relief and renewed determination. Commander Reeves has been captured by High Commander Trelvor. He sacrificed himself so I could escape with evidence of the purest conspiracy. Her voice hardened. And now I need your help to get him back. Mike regained consciousness in a sterile interrogation room. His wrists were bound to the chair with energy restraints that hummed with a faint blue glow. The throbbing pain in his shoulder told him the stun blast had done some damage, but nothing permanent. Commander Reeves, Trelvor's voice came from behind him. I must admit, I underestimated you humans. Such primitive physiology, yet such remarkable resilience. Mike kept his expression neutral as Trelvor circled to face him. Funny, I was thinking the same about you purists. Such advanced technology, yet such backward thinking. Trelvor's braids flashed with irritation, a dull red pulse that betrayed his controlled demeanor. You understand nothing of our cause. The alliance with humanity is diluting our culture, our genetic purity. Already some Narians adopt human mannerisms, human values. His lip curled in disgust. Even intimate relations. Mike couldn't help the small smile that formed. Trelvor noticed, and his eyes narrowed. Ah, so it's true. You and Selina Kalesh. He shook his head. How disappointing. She comes from one of our most distinguished bloodlines. Maybe she just has good taste, Mike replied, earning himself a backhanded strike across the face. Your crude humor won't save you, Commander. Your transmission was intercepted before it reached Alliance Command. Dr. Kalesh will be apprehended shortly, and then both of you will face justice for treason against the Narian hegemony. Mike maintained his defiant smile, though inwardly he worried for Selina. Had she made it to safety, or was Trelvor telling the truth? His questions were answered moments later when alarms blared throughout the facility. Trelvor's communicator chimed urgently. What is it? He snapped. The response made his braids pulse with alarm. Impossible! How did they… He cut himself off, glaring at Mike. It seems your Alliance friends received your message after all. They're demanding your immediate release. Hope surged through Mike, but he kept his expression neutral. Told you we'd win. Trelvor's face contorted with rage. This changes nothing. The Purity Protocol is already in motion. By this time tomorrow, the Alliance will be in shambles. He stormed from the room, leaving Mike alone with his thoughts. Whatever was happening outside, Selina had succeeded. Now he just needed to survive long enough for a rescue, or find his own way out. In the Alliance Command Center, Selina stood beside Admiral Gardner as the human woman addressed the Narian Council of Elders via secure transmission. The evidence they'd gathered was displayed prominently. Irrefutable proof of Trelvor's conspiracy. High Elder Rendal, Admiral Gardner said firmly, we have confirmation that Commander Reeves is being held illegally at your embassy on Europa. We demand his immediate release. The elderly Narian's face remained impassive, but his braids, more elaborate than any Selina had seen, pulsed with concern and anger. Admiral Gardner, these accusations are most disturbing. If High Commander Trelvor has indeed conspired against the Alliance, he will face our harshest justice. However, we cannot simply order the embassy to release a prisoner without proper procedure. With all due respect, Elder, Selina interjected, stepping forward. Proper procedure went out the airlock when Trelvor murdered my brother and attempted to start a war between our peoples. Rendal's eyes widened slightly at her boldness. Dr. Kalesh, your father speaks highly of your intellect, but I see you've inherited his passion as well. My father taught me to stand for truth, Elder. As did my brother. Selina's braids pulsed with a steady, determined gold. Commander Reeves risked everything to expose this plot. He is a hero to both our peoples. The elder studied her for a long moment, his ancient eyes seeming to look beyond her words. Your braids betrayed deeper feelings for this human, young one. Selena lifted her chin, unashamed. My feelings are irrelevant to the facts before you. A small smile touched the elder's lips. Perhaps they are more relevant than you know. He turned back to Admiral Gardner. I will contact the embassy directly. In the meantime, I suggest you prepare your rescue team, Admiral. Trelvor will not surrender easily. As the transmission ended, Admiral Gardner turned to Selena. Your elder friend seems to have given us tacit approval for a rescue operation. Rendal is no friend of the purists, Selena confirmed. He's been a moderate voice on the council for decades. Gardner nodded to a human officer. Commander Foster, assemble your team. Dr. Kalesh will provide tactical support. The officer, a compact, muscular woman with a scar running along her jawline, assessed Selena with professional interest. Any combat experience, Doctor? My brother was special operations. He taught me a few things. Selena touched her bandaged arm. And I've had some recent field experience. Foster grinned. Good enough for me. We deploy in 30 minutes. As preparations accelerated around them, Admiral Gardner drew Selena aside. There's something you should know. Our intelligence suggests Trelvor has accelerated his timetable. We've detected unusual activity at 3 Alliance starbases. If his plan is to sabotage them like he did the Intrepid, thousands could die, Selena finished grimly. We need to get that information from him. Agreed, but our priority is extracting Commander Reeves safely. Gardner's expression softened slightly. He's one of our best, you know. Stubborn as hell, but there's no one I'd rather have watching my back in a fight. Selena's braids pulsed with a warm golden hue. I've noticed those qualities myself. Gardner's lips quirked in a knowing smile. I bet you have. 30 minutes later, Selena found herself aboard a stealth shuttle with Commander Foster and 5 human Special Forces operatives. They were joined by 3 Narian security officers who had been vetted by the Council of Elders, loyalists who opposed the Purists. The embassy's security grid has been partially deactivated, Foster explained as they approached. Elder Rendal's doing, apparently, but we'll still face resistance from Trelvor's personal guards. They'll be concentrated in the detention level, one of the Narian officers added, 2 levels below the main floor. Selena studied the embassy schematics, identifying the most likely location for Mike's cell. Her heart raced at the thought of seeing him again, of knowing he was safe. The past days had transformed her in ways she was still processing. What had begun as a mission to honor her brother had become something far more personal. Dr. Kalesh, Foster's voice broke through her thoughts. You're with me. First team secures the perimeter. Second team creates a diversion. We go straight for Commander Reeves. The shuttle docked at an emergency access point, and the team moved with practiced efficiency. Selena stayed close to Foster, impressed by the humans' calm focus under pressure. They encountered minimal resistance in the outer corridors, evidence that Elder Rendal's influence was working. As they descended toward the detention level, however, the situation changed. Weapons fire erupted from an intersecting corridor, forcing them to take cover. Purist loyalists, the Narian officer beside them confirmed. They won't surrender, even with the Council's orders. Foster exchanged a look with Selena. We need another route. Selena studied the schematics in her tactical display. There's a maintenance shaft that bypasses this section. It's narrow, but it should get us to the detention level. Lead the way, Doctor. As they navigated the cramped passage, Selena's thoughts returned to Mike. What had Trelvor done to him? Would he be the same man she'd come to care for so deeply? The possibility that he might be seriously injured, or worse, made her braids pulse with anxious energy. Foster noticed. He'll be okay, she said quietly. Reeves is too stubborn to die before completing a mission. Selena gave her a grateful look. And what does he consider his mission now? Foster's expression softened slightly. From what I hear, keeping you safe became his priority. That's not something Mike does lightly. The shaft opened into a utility room adjacent to the detention cells. They could hear voices, Trelvor and another Narian, arguing intensely. The Council has ordered his release, the second voice insisted. The Council has been compromised, Trelvor replied coldly. The human dies, and the purity protocol proceeds as planned. Foster signaled to her team, then nodded to Selena. Ready? Selena checked her weapon, a non-lethal stun pistol, the most she was comfortable using against her own people, even purists. Ready! The next moments passed in a blur of action. Foster's team breached the room with military precision. Stun blasts and shouts echoed through the detention area. Selena focused on a single goal, finding Mike. She spotted him in the third cell, still bound to an interrogation chair but very much alive. Their eyes met through the transparent barrier, and the relief that flooded through her was so intense her braids glowed like miniature suns. "Took you long enough," Mike said with a weak grin as she deactivated the cell barrier. "Humans and their impatience," she replied, her voice thick with emotion as she released his restraints. "Always in such a hurry." His hands, finally free, reached for hers. "Only when something matters." Their fingers intertwined, blue against tan, a physical connection that spoke volumes about bridges crossed and barriers overcome. Behind them, Foster's voice cut through the moment. "Commander, we need to move. Trelvor's escaped, and we've got reports of explosive devices planted throughout the embassy." Mike's expression hardened as he stood, wincing slightly from his injuries. "Then let's go catch him. He still has a lot to answer for." Selena supported him as they moved toward the exit, their mission far from over, but their resolve stronger than ever. "Trelvor's heading for the private docking bay," reported one of the Narian officers, checking his tactical display. "He has a personal shuttle there." Mike straightened, pushing through the pain of his injuries. "If he gets off station, we lose our chance to stop the attacks on those starbases." Commander Foster nodded grimly. "My team will handle the embassy explosives. You two go after Trelvor. You know him best." "We'll need backup," Mike insisted. "Already arranged," Foster replied with a tight smile. "2 Alliance security officers are waiting at the north exit. They'll escort you to the docking bay." As they moved through the corridors, Selena supported Mike, her concern evident in her glowing braids. "You should be in medical, not chasing terrorists." "I'll heal," Mike replied, his voice firm. "Those people on the starbases won't if we don't stop Trelvor." She studied his face, the determined set of his jaw, the unwavering focus in his eyes. "You humans are remarkably stubborn." "It's one of our better qualities," he said with a quick grin. They reached the north exit where 2 Alliance officers waited with a transport vehicle. As they sped toward the docking bay, Mike checked the weapon Foster had given him, while Selena monitored Trelvor's position on her tactical display. "He's still there," she confirmed, "preparing for departure." Mike nodded. "We need a plan. He'll have guards." "I can access the docking bay's environmental controls," Selena suggested. "Create a distraction while you flank him." "Good, but remember, we need him alive. He's the only one who knows the detonation codes." The transport stopped 100 meters from the docking bay entrance. They could see Trelvor's shuttle through the massive viewport, a sleek, diplomatic vessel with enhanced engines. 2 Purist guards stood at the entrance, weapons ready. Selena slipped away to a maintenance panel while Mike coordinated with the Alliance officers. Within minutes, warning lights flashed throughout the docking bay as oxygen levels appeared to drop precipitously, a false alarm, but the guards wouldn't know that. As the Purists scrambled for emergency breathing apparatus, Mike and the Alliance officers struck. The fight was brief but intense. Mike, despite his injuries, moved with the practiced efficiency of a veteran soldier. 1 guard fell to a stun blast. The other required more persuasion from Mike's fist. They breached the docking bay just as Selena rejoined them. Trelvor stood at the shuttle's entrance ramp, his aristocratic features twisted with rage. "It's over, Trelvor," Mike called, weapon raised. "Surrender the detonation codes." The Narian commander's braids pulsed with dark, angry colors. "You think you've won? You've merely delayed the inevitable. The Alliance is an abomination, a dilution of everything pure about our species." "My brother believed in the Alliance," Selena stepped forward, her voice steady. "He gave his life for it." "Your brother was a fool," Trelvor spat. "As are you, consorting with this human." Mike kept his weapon trained on Trelvor, noting the subtle movement of the Narian's hand toward a concealed pocket. "The detonation codes. Now." Trelvor's lips curled into a sneer. "You want them? Come and take them." He drew a small device from his pocket, not a weapon, but a control pad. One press and the charges on Starbase Proxima detonate. Thousands die instantly. Don't, Selena pleaded. Our people are on that station too. Acceptable losses for genetic purity, Trelvor replied coldly. Mike assessed the situation with combat-honed instincts. Trelvor's thumb hovered over the detonator. A direct shot might cause a reflexive press. They needed a distraction. He caught Selena's eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod toward the shuttle's exterior power coupling, visible just behind Trelvor. She understood immediately. You know what your problem is, Trelvor, Mike said, lowering his weapon slightly. You underestimate humans. You think we're primitive, impulsive, inferior. Because you are, Trelvor replied with contempt. Maybe, but here's the thing about us primitive humans. Mike's lips curved into a dangerous smile. We're really good at improvising. In that instant, Selena fired a precise shot at the power coupling. It exploded in a shower of sparks, momentarily blinding Trelvor. Mike lunged forward, tackling the Narian commander before his thumb could press the detonator. They crashed to the deck in a tangle of limbs. Trelvor was stronger than he looked, his Narian physiology giving him advantages in raw power. But Mike had combat experience in human adaptability on his side. They grappled fiercely, rolling across the deck as the Alliance officers tried to get a clear shot. The detonator skittered away, and Selena dove for it, securing the device. It's over, she called. I have the detonator. Trelvor howled with rage, redoubling his efforts to break free from Mike's hold. In a burst of strength, he slammed Mike against the shuttle's landing strut. Pain exploded through Mike's already injured shoulder, but he refused to let go. For Darren, Mike growled, delivering a precise strike to a nerve cluster at the base of Trelvor's neck. A vulnerable point Darren had once shown him during sparring. The Narian commander went rigid, then collapsed. Mike stood shakily, breathing hard. Pressure point. Duran taught me that. Selena rushed to his side, her braids pulsing with concern and relief. Are you all right? I'll live. Mike managed to smile despite the pain. Did we get the codes? She held up the detonator. Everything we need to stop the attacks. Alliance security took custody of the unconscious Trelvor, while Mike transmitted the detonation codes to Admiral Gardner. Within minutes, confirmation came through. Emergency teams were neutralizing the explosives on all 3 star bases. The crisis was averted. As the adrenaline of the confrontation faded, Mike found himself leaning more heavily on Selena. She guided him to a bench along the docking bay wall, her touch gentle but firm. You need medical attention, she insisted. What I need, Mike replied, looking into her eyes, is to know what happens next. For us. Her braids pulsed with a warm golden light. That depends. Are all humans as direct as you? Only when something matters. He reached up to touch one of her luminescent braids. And you matter, Selena. More than I expected when we started this. The sister of your battle partner, she said softly. Is that all I am to you? Mike shook his head. You know it's not. You're extraordinary, brilliant, brave, beautiful. Everything about you fascinates me. Her blue skin flushed with a deeper purple hue, the Narian equivalent of a blush. Even though I'm alien. Because you're you, he corrected. The rest is just details. She smiled then, a genuine expression that transformed her face. My people have a saying, the stars align but once in a lifetime. I think perhaps ours have aligned, Mike Reeves. Before he could respond, Admiral Gardner's voice came through their communicators. Commander Dr. Kalesh, well done. All explosives have been neutralized. The Council of Elders has ordered the arrest of all known Purist sympathizers. It seems your evidence was quite convincing. Thank you, Admiral, Mike replied. What about Trelvor? He'll face justice from both our governments, Gardner assured them. His actions were an attack on the Alliance itself. After the communication ended, Mike turned back to Selena. So, about those aligned stars. She laughed, a musical sound that made his heart skip. The Narian Xenobiology Institute has been requesting a human liaison officer, someone to help bridge our scientific communities. Are you offering me a job, Doctor? I'm offering you a future, she replied, her braids glowing with an intensity that needed no translation. If you want it. Mike pulled her closer, ignoring the protest from his injured shoulder. I can't think of anything I want more. Their lips met in a kiss that bridged worlds. Human and Narian, soldier and scientist, united by loss but bound now by something stronger. As they parted, Mike saw in her eyes the same certainty he felt in his heart. Duran would approve, you know, he said softly. Yes, she agreed, a bittersweet smile touching her lips. He always said humans were the best thing to happen to our people. I think I understand why now. 3 months later, they stood together on the observation deck of the newly commissioned Alliance vessel, Duran's Legacy. As the ship's XO, Mike had responsibilities that kept him busy, but never too busy to appreciate the view. Both of the stars beyond the viewport and the remarkable blue-skinned xenobiologist who had become his partner in all ways. Selena's research into human-Narian biological compatibility had raised eyebrows in both communities, but the support from Elder Rendall and Admiral Gardner had silenced most critics. Their relationship had become a symbol of what the Alliance could be, not just a political arrangement, but a true merging of strengths. Penny for your thoughts, Selena said, using the human expression with practiced ease. Mike smiled, drawing her closer. Just thinking about how losing a partner led me to find another, in the most unexpected place. Her braids glowed with contentment as she rested her head against his shoulder. Together they watched the stars, their paths now irrevocably intertwined. A human male and his beautiful alien partner, united in purpose and in love.